in game number 2 as we have head coach Mandy Burford with us here post-game before the Samford Bulldogs take their next 6 on the road. And, Coach, certainly a tough loss in game 1, but a really, really good response by your team in game 2 to take a very solid 8-4 victory to close out the homestand.
Yeah, I thought game 1 we just kind of let slip through our hands. We had several opportunities with bases loaded, no outs, and then second, third, and 1 out. We just couldn't get the key hit. The energy just wasn't there. I thought Ashlyn and McKenna both did a good job of keeping us in the game. We just had that one bad inning in the first, but really glad we bounced back in the second. We tried to do something a little bit different. We played all of our freshman defensive players and switched it up a little bit and tried to let them bring the energy, and really proud of the way they fought back and got that win.
And really, you look at your opponent today, even though they didn't have Danielle Learman, that's one of the top hitters in the OVC, it's still a very much improved Austin Peay squad that at least that y'all have seen over the past 5 seasons with 24 wins coming in, certainly will be a factor in the OVC tournament. So I guess you kind of figure it was overall in the bigger picture of things for today, actually a pretty good day for your squad, beating one of your better non-conference victories on the season, at least when it comes to on paper.
Yeah, they beat ETSU, they beat UTC, they beat Mercer, so they're definitely a different team now that Coach DeLong's there. That's what I told him, is I have the utmost respect for him. He's completely turned the thing around in 9 months. But yeah, they've had our number every year. They've beat us pretty good the last couple of years in walk-off fashion, so they swing the bat really well. I didn't think they were ever out of the game. They brought the tying run to the plate several times. They're a good squad. And
really, it's kind of that doubleheader that you kind of had to scratch and claw to get something really for both teams kind of today as far as getting some of their run-scoring production. But you mentioned the pitching as far as Game 1, Ashlyn and McKenna, but also Taylor DeSalle. Really, in fact, as far as her complete game, I thought may have had, outside of that walk in the 7th inning, as far as the finish to a game, may have been her best finish of the season as far as one of her starts this year.
Yeah, with Taylor, it's just limiting her extra base hits. This weekend she saw 21 batters in that game versus Western, and the 21 batters, she had 6 hits and 5 were extra base hits, so she only had to give up 1 single. And today, she gave up 7 hits and only 2 were extra base hits. So I think the key to her is just limiting the extra base hits, limiting the walks, but also having good walks here and there. I wasn't happy about the walk that walked the run in, but it wasn't a bad walk. It wasn't a 3-0 awful pitch. It was one of their really good hitters. So really proud of Taylor for finishing the game. I think it's been a long time since we've had a pitcher really go the distance like that.
Well, and you mentioned your freshman as far as defensively earlier, and it's really fun watching Ashlyn Barnes just play defense out there, being able to use that range all over the infield at the shortstop position. It just, at least from up here, I don't know what you think from your vantage point of the dugout, but there's a lot of potential, at least defensively. But even offensively, she's really picked up her game over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't even think that Ashlyn knows just how good she can really be. She's so athletic and she's so versatile, and it's funny because Meg and I had this conversation that if Shelby hadn't been Player of the Week, I believe Ashlyn hit close to 600 last week, and she had the RBIs today, and we really contemplated on moving her out of the 9-hole but moving her up. But when she and Shelby come up together, I just feel like we have a really, really good opportunity of scoring runs. And Buddy, when she gets going, she's going to be a force to reckon with. I hope she can fill in Shelby's spot, when Shelby graduates, because you really can't replace a Shelby. She's just really turned it on this year, and she's been incredible.
How fun is it to watch Shelby Mays, especially when she's just clicking on all cylinders like she has been really the last 2 months of the season?
It's just, you just never know what you're going to get, like whether it's a bunt or a single through the hole or a line drive back up the middle, or, if a pitcher hangs one, she's going to get that double or triple. I'm waiting for her to, hit one out of the ballpark, but she just has so many tools and she has so much confidence, and she's cut down a number of strikeouts, and she's just kind of the epitome of getting better year after year after year after year, and you rarely see that nowadays with somebody not to have a sophomore slump, or, after your freshman, sophomore years, pitchers know how to pitch you and they know how to get you out, and she's just combated that. Whatever they throw at her, I think she does a really good job of adjusting and staying with it.
There's an interesting dynamic that I think you're kind of pointing to as far as the freshman class, but also someone like Shelby Mays and Lexi Higgins as far as the senior class this year, kind of being a bridge from the recent past, from the 14 and 15 and 16 teams that had all that success with an NCAA regional to kind of your future. But just as far as that this year's freshman class, just on the whole, just kind of describe that potential that the freshman class you think has going forward over the next few years to kind of carry this program into the future.
Yeah, the 2016 class, when we won it all, there were 6 of them, and they all brought something different to the table, but they all contributed in lots of different ways. And I think the freshman class now is very similar. They have the potential to be that good. It's just a matter of not if they're going to stick with it and work as hard as what they did. Ashlyn's athletic ability and what she's done at the plate. Ryan was one of the best hitters coming out of travel ball in high school, and she's just so close to finding her groove right now. Juliana Cross, again, she's become one of our better defensive players that we have. The 2 pitchers and Peay. Peay, when she makes contact, she hits the ball hard every single time. She had a double and a home run tonight after being in a slump. And Emily and McKenna have really come on. We clocked radar speeds yesterday, and they both were right around 56, 57 in the fall, and they both were hitting 61 yesterday. So I just think there's a lot of growth and a lot of potential.
And then you start to kind of get into the teeth of that SoCon schedule starting this weekend with a much improved Mercer squad on the road in Macon this weekend. And I got to ask you, Molly Hanson, of course, the pitching coach now at Mercer, was on the staff last year as one of your assistants. Of course, we all know what she did when she was pitching out here from 2013 to 2016. Just kind of describe maybe how proud you are as far as just her getting into the coaching profession and maybe what she's done this year.
Yeah. Mercer reminds me a lot of us 2 years ago. They've kind of seemed like they've all put it together, and they have a squad right now that really can compete. I think they showed that by splitting with Georgia this weekend. Georgia had the #1 RPI in the nation, and they went in there and took one from them, and game 2 was really close. So they remind me a lot of our 16 squad. They hit really well. They have 7 lefties in the lineup. They have speed. They have power. They have 3 really good pitchers. And I think Molly stepped into a situation where she can really contribute. I know that she's the pitching coach. I've noticed a little bit that she's not calling pitches, and she's so smart about the game, so that kind of surprises me a little bit. I know Coach DeFeo is very good at what she does, but I think Molly stepped into a situation where she can really help them be successful this year.
And just kind of describe, at least for the weekend, for your team, maybe some of those keys you're looking for going in to this weekend's road trip to Macon.
Yeah, so Meg just kind of said it to the girls, was that we really haven't seen the best of the best in the SoCon yet. We've been playing SoCon games, but we haven't seen Furman, Mercer, UNCG, so it's going to be tough pitching, really good lineup. I don't think any of our pitchers are really going to go 2 or 3 times the lineup. I think that's going to be key is for all of our pitchers to keep the ball in the ballpark and have timely hitting. Mercer's just a really, really good squad, and we're playing them on the road, so we just hope that some of our games this weekend and today in game 2 that can carry over and we can stay consistent.
And then one more thing. You mentioned Megan and Abby, 2 of your former players. How's that dynamic been as far as having a couple of your former players on the staff with you as assistants?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think they know what they're going to get from me, and they know my expectations, and they have a lot of the same mindset. I think that anytime you go from playing to coaching, it's a different world, and I think it's an adjustment to understand it. But Megan and Abby, they both had the it factor as players. They refused to lose, and you never had to push them. You never had to get a player to play behind them to make them think that they weren't going to start, to push them to be as great as they could be. They both just gave you 100% every day, and I think that's something that they've grown to give the girls on the team now is their best and 100% and all they have. And it's been fun. We haven't won like I would have liked, but we've had the growth that we needed with this freshman class, and I think there's a long way to go. But I think if we get hot at the right time, that we have the tools of what it takes to be successful right now.
Well, as always, we appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Head coach.